You are listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast, a podcast by diehard fans for fans. Mark covers all things Penn State football and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as anything related to the sports and fitness world. Tune in weekly to listen to a couple of dedicated fans talk about these topics without filters. Thank you for listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back into another episode of the Mark Lesko Podcast. Joined once again by Penn State legend Tyler Smith, talks some Penn State basketball. Tyler, it's good to have you back on, man.
Thanks, man. Legend is a little generous, but maybe if you can be a legend in your kids' eyes, maybe that's all that matters. So,
well, I was talking to Alex Mutavelis yesterday, and he said he was watching our episodes, and he said, he's Greek. His dad owns that Greek restaurant there, and he said, yeah, I was talking to my dad about your episode. He's like, he can't remember anything, but he remembered that whole roster when Tyler played. He's like, Tyler Smith, one of the best basketball players I've ever watched. He's like, he remembered everybody.
That's funny. He must be a real diehard then, because I always chuckle when somebody, if I run into somebody that has been a Penn State basketball fan for a long time and, was around like during rec hall days, and I didn't play during rec hall days, but if they've been around that long, then they've seen a lot of people. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm like pasty white blonde dude that's really tall, and there's not a lot of us out there. I don't blend in real well, so I think that's helpful to if you want to stand out. But my dad would always say, "Listen, if you get in trouble, everybody's gonna know because you look like anybody else." I was like, "Thanks, Dad. I'll try to keep my nose clean." I did for the most part.
Yeah, like I said, there's not a lot of people that because I'm technically 6'2". With when I have shoes on, I'm over 6'2", but I'm 6'1". I just say I'm 6'1". But there's not a lot of people I look up at. But you're one of those people for sure because you're 6'9". So
yeah, well, it is funny if I run into somebody as tall or taller, I think, wow, that person's real tall. I think, well, that's probably how a lot of people see me. And I get the funniest questions. Like, I remember I work with a medical device company. I'm in hospitals a lot, and one of the nurses, she like kind of had these big eyes, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, do you live in a special house?" I was like, "I wish I did. That'd be awesome, But no, I still have to duck in some places in my house too. But it's funny. We bought a house years ago, and it happened to have 9-foot ceilings. I wasn't looking for one with 9-foot ceilings, but it does. And I'm like, this is kind of nice. I'll take it.
well, yeah, when you walk into Victory, you duck.
Yeah, the Victory doorways. Yeah, I always, because all it takes is one time, and you remember that pain.
Yeah.
It's like anything else in life. You make a dumb mistake, you always remember that pain. Not going to make that again. Make that mistake again.
Yep.
I had another guy. I went. It was the first time I was working with this one doctor in the operating room, and the doctor happened to be really short. I mean, he was like barely over 5 feet, and he looks up at me and he's like, "It's the first time we met," and like he literally is coming in to like start this surgery, and he looks up at me and he's like, "Oh," because we hadn't worked together before, and he goes, How tall do you have some kind of disease what's that disease?" And he like rattled off like all these like, I don't know, growth problem diseases. I was like, not that I know of, but thanks for making me worry about it now.
Yeah, like Andre the Giant or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was freaking massive, man. God, he said he could drink like 50 beers and not even have a buzz. He was so big.
Yeah, he was massive, man. And you couldn't really appreciate it probably like seeing him on TV, but I'm sure if you saw him in person, it was just like, who is this enormous creature?
Yeah, well, there's a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I think he's like 6'1", 6'2", and he's huge.
Yeah.
But there's a picture of him next to Andre the Giant and Wilt Chamberlain for this one movie, and he looks like a child
Oh my
next to them.
gosh. That's funny. That'd be a fun. I'll have to look that up.
But yeah, you said you were guarding Yao Ming that one time, and you were like at his belly button or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I mean, dude was 7'5", and that was not an exaggeration. I was like, this is insane. I had a teammate that was 7'2", and he was massive. And one of my favorite memories playing with him was we were playing in Holland, and we were down by one, and there was 1 second left, or maybe like less than a second, like you know, zero point 0.4 or something, and we had the ball underneath the other team's basket. So our coach puts him in, and he says, "All right, just throw it up right at the rim, and you're just gonna like tap it in." And so they had like one or two of their guy, and their tallest guy was only like maybe 6'8" or something. And so, sure enough, man, it was awesome. He threw it up, and these two defenders are like climbing all over him, like trying to like push him and pull him down. And he just like this big strong dude just jumped up, like tapped it in, game over at the buzzer.
Well, you had a teammate that reminded me of Horace Grant. Big center, just like a big guy. Was it Booth? Maybe I'm thinking of.
Well, Booth, yeah, but Booth was more center. He was tall though, man, 6'11", and he was, man, his wingspan. You know how they say your wingspan's about as what your height is? Well, he had an 88-inch wingspan, which was just like massive, and size 19 shoes. And you don't have much of a shoe selection when you have size 19 shoes. So, but yeah, that guy, he's pretty tall dude, man.
I saw this picture the other day of Miles Garrett in high school, next to his teammates, and I'm like, he just didn't even look real. Like he was just. You're like, how do you? He's just born that way. You know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah,
huge.
yeah,
Um, you can't like you're just born like that, man. Like look at that.
yeah. Oh my, fully grown human amongst some kids.
But he said that's my D tackle teammate and two offensive tackles. Then there's him. Like, dude, what the heck, man?
That's
That's
awesome.
insane.
That is awesome, man. When you just get just a handful of really unique, just like freaks of nature that are just like born huge, athletic. It's, guys like him, guys like LeBron in high school. I mean, LeBron's been a star since he was like 16,
Hmm.
17 years old. He hit the national scene on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and very much has lived up to the hype and then some.
Well, they called him the chosen one because he was just so gifted. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
one thing I'm not the biggest LeBron guy, but one thing I've always respected about him is that he had fame at that young age, and you've never really heard of him being in any type of trouble or anything bad about LeBron James. So a big kudos to him being that
Yes.
famous that
Yes.
young, and he's
Yes.
never,
Because
you
yeah,
know,
there's countless stories of guys that just make train wrecks of their life.
yeah,
And
yeah,
when you get that much fame, that much money so fast, because you like, I mean, so many of us are just knuckleheads when we're in our teenage years because it's just part of the way the human brain works. And then you throw in like all this attention and stuff at you. Like, how do you even begin? You're not mature enough to like handle all that, process it. So I give him a lot of credit for that. I'm the same way, right? I mean, he's not like my favorite player or anything, but like he handled it about as well or better than almost anybody else probably could.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, I'm gonna ask you about the Luka Dončić trade, but I want to get into Penn State here. We've lost four straight, as you can see here on the screen. We are 13-10. We just keep dropping games. It sucks, but um, Purdue is number one at 19-5. And we just lost to Iowa by 1, Michigan by 4, Ohio State we got smoked by them, and then lost to Minnesota. So, and you've been going to the games. You were at the Ohio State game, right? Was that the whiteout?
I missed Ohio State, but I was at the Minnesota game earlier this week. Was that Monday? Went to
So,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. And man, just what a frustrating stretch for these guys, because I know earlier we were talking about the first half of the season they were looking so strong. You had the good Purdue win. You're showing some really good signs of just this team really building towards making the tournament. And then, you have a loss here, you have a loss there. Then all of a sudden it just like kind of snowballs. You have the injury to Puff Johnson, now the injury to Yannick, a big center. And it's like, oh man, we are just not in a good spot. And the Iowa loss by 1, boy, that was frustrating and disappointing for those guys. And then the Michigan game, I felt like they didn't play that great, but well enough to like be in the game. And then all of a sudden they made this run in the second half in the last few minutes, and they had the lead. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we got the lead. And you need one stop, and this guy hits this tough step back 3. And I think that put Michigan up by 1. So put Michigan up by 2, and then they just added a couple free throws, and Penn State, lost by 4. But holy smokes, that was tough. And then Michigan State, I thought they actually played really tough at Michigan State. But I mean, it's so hard to win at Michigan State. I think that's arguably the hardest place to win in the Big Ten. Ohio State that wasn't pretty. But then the Minnesota one this week, they I think it was 6 minutes and 20 seconds or so before they got their first bucket. And I was like, oh boy, this could be a long night. But thankfully Minnesota wasn't scoring much either. And Penn State, second half, like a few minutes to go, and they were leading, and then Minnesota rattled off a couple of threes and just kind of started to break the game open a little bit. But not having a guy like Puff, who may not be your leading scorer, but he does so many things. I mean, with his size and length, he's a glue guy, but like more than a glue guy. Like just such a great attitude, great worker, plays hard D and can score. And when you lose that guy, it's like, that can be more devastating than losing like your top scorer. So I felt bad for the guys that some of these injuries have just been really banging. I know it sounded like Ace, maybe, the commentators were talking about how he had some back issues that were bugging him and stuff. So, I mean, at this point in the season, so many teams are banged up, but you have to find ways to win. And nobody is going to feel sorry for you. And I remember as a player, just thinking like, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Like, you got to be the ones to get it done. And a lot of people want to point fingers at the coach. And, we talked about this with Franklin. It's like, Franklin's not going to make the tackle for you. He's not going to make the block. And I had a coach one time that we were having a bad season. We were losing a lot of games. And he's like, guys, like, this is my fault. Like, I'm not. And he was taking all this ownership. And I'm like, how can our coach be saying this? Like we have to make the shots. Like, coach will never play a single second in any game. And so I know that's really hard. So, if anybody that's played sports for long enough has been through a season like this, and they've been in times like this, and I can remember my share of them, and it is incredibly frustrating. But that being said, like, you just get up and you go to freaking work again. And you get up and you say, okay, today is a new day. And if you lose again, okay, today is a new day. And you keep going out. And that's the only way you can handle it. And ultimately, it always reveals your character of who you are. And it reveals what you're willing to do to try and turn things around. And I had plenty of guys on teams that just, when things are going great, man, they're great. But when things aren't going great, Oh man, like they just turn into like another person's sour attitude, just pointing fingers, like real short fuse. And I said, these are the kinds of times where when things suck and everything is crumbling
Mhm.
around you, are you going to find a way to stand tall and get back to work, or are you just going to lose your mind? And I think that's the only way you can handle it. Unfortunately, I think they've got a good group of guys, great group of coaches that I hope will will be sticking together to kind of fight through this tough stretch in their season.
Yeah, to finish out, I mean, it's not an easy stretch for sure. But the season's almost over, and then they'll have the Big Ten tournament. And I believe everybody gets into that, right?
Well, no. So I think the with as many teams as they have now, I think they not everybody gets in, and I'd have to look it up because I should know this, but I don't think everybody gets into the Big Ten tournament now. I mean, it used to be like okay, everybody will get in, but there's buys, but I don't think that's the case now.
Okay. Well, do they still have a shot? Do they have a shot at making the tournament? Probably not.
Uh, I don't think the tournament is really likely now. It's with the kind of the way things have gone, especially with some of their injuries. I just don't know that is as realistic of an option for them. Maybe they can get in the NIT, maybe, but it's like you got to take it real small goals. It's like, listen, man, we just got to find a way to at least win at least one of these on our West Coast trips because they're at UCLA. They play here in about 45 minutes, and then they'll stay out there, go to USC on Tuesday, and the USC is playing real well lately, so I think they certainly have their work cut out for them. But listen, anything can happen, man. I mean, you lose a few in a row, and then all of a sudden you can turn around and win four in a row. And like
Hmm.
crazier things have happened, and you've seen that like every year in the Big Ten or not big in the NCAA tournament, they'll talk about teams that like all of a sudden just get hot right before March hits, and for whatever reason, maybe they just sense a little bit more urgency and man, we're coming to the end here, or guys just finally it starts coming together because it takes a while. I mean, not teams are never at their best in like November and early December because everybody's still trying to figure each other out. So yeah, I'm excited to watch them play today, and hopefully they'll find some ways to get some wins.
Well, Tyler, I look forward to covering March Madness with you. And you know, I hate to say it, but it'll be cool to follow some good, teams that are actually having some success and just talking about that in March Madness. Because if you make the tournament, that's a big accomplishment. So I look forward to talking with that stuff with you. Um,
Yeah.
since Penn State's not really in the picture anymore, but you're right. I have hope that they'll get some wins, turn it around. But being that they're not really in the hunt anymore, like who do you think is gonna win it all and have success in the tournament and possibly win it all?
Um, I Auburn clearly is like just having an amazing season. Those guys are really talented. UConn, I mean, shoot, I think they had a couple of losses, or there was something around Bobby Hurley, I think, losing his cool or something, which he's been known to be pretty fiery. But so those guys are going to be really dangerous also because they're talented and man they just seem to be really hungry and kind of follow the lead of their coach. So who is very demanding. Um, so I think those are the two teams for me that I'll be watching. Michigan State is good, but I feel like I don't know. So sometimes expectations are so high for them. It seems like they're underachieving, even though they're such a successful program. But people want to see them like make the Final Four and win another championship. But it's been a little while since that's happened.
Well, you look at Alabama, for example. I mean, historically, they're not a basketball school, and they're really good now. Um, I forget that one player they had that was really good that went to the NBA. He had I think it was a gun charge or something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, I forget his name.
But I mean, I kind of compare us to like the Alabama basketball of, like Penn State and Alabama, two football schools, but Alabama basketball turned it around. I think we can do that too. I think eventually
Yeah,
we'll be there.
yeah,
Good. We'll be a good, solid team.
yeah,
So, competing every year. I mean, they have that four-star kid coming in, but yeah, man, we got the coaches. That's the most important thing. We definitely have good coaching for sure,
yeah, yeah,
and just Joe Crispin. I mean, his experience, what he's done, the success he's had. He's a great mind to have there, a great mentor. So I'm confident going forward. But
yeah.
I guess it's what top four gets the top four seeds, right?
Yeah, they'd all be number one seeds, like in their region, and
Hmm.
then you filter down from there. I haven't seen Duke play very much this year, just a few highlights, but that one kid, is it Cooper Flag? Man, he's fun to watch.
Yeah, yeah, he is. I think he's from New Hampshire, or Delaware, Maine. Is it Maine?
Yeah, I think it is Maine.
It's somewhere up in there,
I think it might be Maine, which is kind of funny because
on the map.
it's not like Maine's a hotbed for basketball, all stars.
Well, the one podcast I watch, RX Muscle, which is a bodybuilding channel, one of the coaches on there who uh, legendary coach, has multiple Olympia titles under his belt with Jay Cutler, and the list goes on and on if you know bodybuilding. But he talked about him that one time because he's from Maine, this guy, and he's like Cooper Flag. He's like he's a freak.
That's
Um,
cool. That's really cool.
and I think he knew about it because his sons were basketball guys. Now they're into bodybuilding. They have insane genetics. But he talked about Cooper Flag. This was like, because what is he, a freshman?
Freshman. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
And
already a freak.
yeah, and he was
But
playing with the Olympic team, over the summer.
well, that's like I think Christian Leitner, he played on the All Star team
Right.
because he was so good, and then like Kobe played on the All Star team because he was so good. You have guys like that are so good in college they can literally play in the Olympics. Like
Yeah.
they're that good. So he'll be one and done, right? Is that still?
Yeah. Yeah. Because the NBA still has that rule where you got to be a year out of high school. And a handful of guys now will go to the G League that play there. Used to be
Mhm.
maybe guys could go overseas, but I don't think guys want to do that because that's too far away and it's too
Mhm.
uncomfortable for an 18-year-old typically to want to travel to a foreign country. But and it's like, but now it makes more sense to just go to college and get paid a bunch of money. I mean, these guys have such sweet setups now. Even if like let's say you're a kid who has a really good head on his shoulders and realizes, hey, I may not be like, an NBA star. I might not even make the NBA. Like I might be kind of borderline, but I'm still a really good college player. You're going to make so much stinking money in college with zero expenses. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine making the kind of money, like as an adult, you know, husband, dad, like owning a house, like and making the money these guys are making,
Yeah.
So you just hope. Like I laugh because I remember thinking that a couple $100 like for meal money over like winter break was a lot of money, and yeah, it's wild, but it's the world they're in, and so hope that they get some really good guys around them to utilize that money because like that's life changing money for a lot of these guys. If
Mhm.
you invest it well.
It is, man. Yeah. And I hope they do it the right thing and put it in the market and stuff. That's the best thing you can do
Yep.
to grow it. Um, I started investing when I was 29. I'm 32 now, and it's already grown quite a bit. So, like people gamble, they do sports gambling and all that, and you're not guaranteed to make a profit, but when you put it in the stock market, pretty much guaranteed to make a profit, So,
Yeah. It's pretty remarkable, with how finances work. I got a fun app on my phone. It's called Compounder, and all it is just punching in money and the interest rate you earn on it, and then how many years it would stay. And if you start investing like as a teenager, as a early 20s, there's no reason that you shouldn't be a multi-millionaire, by the for sure by the time you retire,
hmm
because you're talking like 40 years, or a lot sooner, And I show this to my kids because like I was really interested in like earning money as a kid and like having little jobs here and there and saving or whatever, but I didn't really understand the power of investing and the power of compounding. And I certainly do now, but I'm 45. It's like, man, shoot, had I known, like, uh, even like 25, $50 a month or something putting away, like that adds up. It's crazy. But I tell my
Yep.
kids all this. I'm like, listen, there is no reason that even if you go and have just a very regular average job, that you shouldn't be a multimillionaire, by doing the simplest stuff. You don't have to have some ridiculous talent, or God's blessed you with this amazing ability that nobody else has, that's super unique. Like, you don't have to be that 0.001%. Like, everyday people should be millionaires. And there's a guy I love to follow, Dave Ramsey, and he talks about that. It's like the simplest stuff, and
Yep.
but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
it's interesting to see.
I'm the guy that if I get like $25 for Christmas, it's going to the stock market. Um, the $5 coffee I don't buy goes right to the stock market. So just
Yeah,
put it in there, man. Just whatever you can do, just put it in. I
yep,
when my sister turned 18, her gift from me was money and a investment account.
awesome.
And she's 18. She has no idea the importance of that. And I said I wish I did it when I was 18. But it's
Yeah,
already grown, and I said try to put money in it every month. I don't think she does, but it's still grown. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
when you're young, you don't think about that stuff. But if you if you do start investing when you're 18, like it's gonna grow.
Oh yeah.
So
You will have enormous amounts of money that like you can't even believe. But everybody check out that app. It's called Compounder, and it's free. It's super simple, and I love just playing around with them. Like, well, what if I added, an extra $100 each month to put away? What if it actually gained a percentage more than I think it was, or 3% more? And it's just like insane. So it's a fun one.
I uh I don't know if you can see my phone, but I actually have that. I have that on my
Awesome.
I have that on my phone. So
Yes, that's the
um,
one. That's the
it's
one.
good stuff, man. It's yeah. It's and there was a story of a guy the other day I saw. He worked like a freaking parking lot in a booth at a parking lot, making like $12 an hour. And by the time he retired, he's worth like $500,000. You know,
It's phenomenal.
just because he put his money in the stock market. It's crazy, but
Yep, yep. And you got to be willing to let it go up and down a little bit. I mean, as I
yeah,
kind of
for
look
sure.
back at like my investment journey, like there's definitely years where I was like, "Phew," but
Yep.
if you have to have like your long term money, which you don't even touch, and then like your midterm and your short term money, and if you're going to need to save to buy a car, an apartment, a house, whatever. But it's fun. It's always been something that's been interesting to me. I've got an uncle who's an investment advisor, so he's been really great in kind of helping me to learn about it and show different options of what's possible. And now, just with all the different investment opportunities online and stuff, even and it's really fun stuff to learn about.
It is. It is, man. Um, Speaking of big money, I want to get into this last story here, which is the trade between the Lakers and the Mavs. And then we'll hop off here, Tyler. So Luka gets traded to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Um, and my initial thought is they got two superstars now, but LeBron said it himself. He's like, I'm old, which he is. I mean, he came into the league 21 years ago. I think it was 2004, 2003, and he's been LeBron his whole career, but he is getting older. So, well, he's old. He's old now. He really is. So, what did you think about this?
Yeah, I was shocked. I think like everybody else, I'm like, is this some kind of like fake news story that just popped up in my feed? And then I'm like, oh my gosh, this actually happened. And then it just makes you so curious, like, how did we get here? Like where did this start? How did we, whatever? And the funny thing is, I like following the Lakers for a couple reasons, but one of them is so Rob Pelinka actually is from my hometown. He went to Lake Forest High School, same high school. He's 10 years older than me. So I met him a couple times, and his dad was actually a high school teacher. And I had his dad's class in high school. And so I've always followed Rob, and from the time where he played basketball at Michigan, he was part of the Fab Five in those years. He actually won a title his freshman year, and then was there for 5 years, and was then there for like a year or two with the Fab Five. And so it's always been fun to kind of follow. He's a stud in high school, of course, and then becomes an agent and represent all the big name guys like Kobe, Carlos Boozer, like all these big time guys. And I remember one of my teammates was like, "Hey man, Rob, can you call him and see if he might represent me?" And this is like when he's representing like Kobe and stuff. And I was like, I mean, I'll reach out, but I don't know, man. He's taking some pretty big names. And he was real nice. He wrote me back, and he's like, "Hey, man, great to hear from you. Unfortunately, like I only take on like one new guy a year." And I was like, "That's amazing when you have like that strong of a agency and impact where like you're so selective." And I'm like, "Sorry, friend, but it's not going to be you."
Well, he's like the Drew Rosenhaus of the NBA, man.
Oh, dude. And
Even
so
though
yeah.
Rosenhaus, I think, has NBA guys, but he's
Yeah. So I'm always, and he's a brilliant guy. I mean, he got his law degree from Michigan, and I remember telling me like all he did to kind of go through like all the schooling and studying to be a lawyer. And I remember him telling me about like the tests he had to take and stuff to become a lawyer, and I'm like, man, that is like no joke. So not only was he a phenomenal player, but like really, really sharp, smart guy too. So not surprised he's, the GM of the Lakers. But anyway, as far as the trade goes, I mean, LeBron, I think probably loves having another like rock star on his team because LeBron's an unselfish player. And you can't say that about like every superstar in the league. You think about big bushy beard guy. What's his name? Drew, not Drew. Harden, James Harden.
Yep.
He just seems like a guy that like a phenomenal scorer, but he's just in a different class as far as like unselfishness that LeBron is. And so I think LeBron and him are going to mix well. And not that him and Anthony Davis didn't, but I think having a guy like that, I think just takes a lot off of LeBron's back. Are they going to have the inside game? And, is that kind of their missing piece? We'll see. I mean, the Lakers are having a pretty good year. It's not like they're, because they really struggled last year. But I think clearly they're gonna make the playoffs, and it's gonna be fun, man. And now the Warriors have Jimmy Butler, right down the road. That's gonna be awesome. So yeah, I don't know how this is gonna play out, But I'm just excited to kind of see things shake up, and that makes the NBA fun. Like people
Yeah.
have been talking about how NBA maybe hasn't been getting the viewership or whatever. Like things like this that shake things up and get people talking. That's definitely going to help their cause.
Well, one thing about Jimmy Butler, man, I like his hair. Like, what the heck is that? He's got the dye in there. Like,
I
I like
know,
that.
I know.
It's interesting. Like, it's an interesting look.
Yeah, he's an entertainer, man. He's a character that just it's like he's got so much money. He's one time like he just doesn't care. He's like, listen, this is who I am, man. If you want to roll with me, great. But if you don't like the way I am or my attitude or my hair, like he doesn't give a rip.
Um, Bills guy or not Bills, Bulls guy. Not Scottie Pippen, but the dude that had the pink hair and
Oh,
the
Rodman.
Dennis Rodman had to freaking he had like I think it was like cheetah hair or it was like spotted and leopard.
Yeah.
Crazy man, like crazy stuff that he did, but he's kind of similar to that.
That's a really good comparison. The same thing came to mind. And he was like the first guy to really do that,
Yeah.
like there was nobody else like dyeing their hair green or putting like a Bulls logo like in
Yep.
their hair. But people in Chicago, like I mean, and he was such a worker though. He would come out
Oh
like
yeah.
he didn't want to score. He'd have wide open layups. He'd be like, "No, man, you take it."
Yep.
He just wanted to do his job and get rebounds. And that was such a fun dynamic between him and Pippen and Jordan. There was actually in Chicago, as you're coming into the city on one of the big highways, there was this huge brick building, and somebody painted this massive picture of Dennis Rodman, his face, and like they would change his hair color like every few weeks or whatever. And it was this unbelievable piece of art on this building, and there would always be this massive traffic jam like right there because people would slow down to look at it.
He had I think it was a bunch of little 23s in his head the one time because that's when Michael came back from retirement.
Oh, funny.
It was something like that. But yeah, man, these trades they keep it interesting for sure. I know Jimmy wanted out of Miami and now he's at Golden State. So yeah, it keeps it interesting, man. Like you really do need a big three. You do. You need a big three, and then guys that complement that big three. So it's pretty
Yeah.
much how the NBA's always been, man. As good as Michael Jordan was, if he didn't have some help, I don't think he would have won all he won.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but Scottie Pippen, man, like he was. What's up, Anthony? He was an amazing player too. So they had those two great players, and then Scotty or Dennis Rodman. I think he's still all time in rebounds to this
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. He's got to be.
So
That guy was like 15. It wasn't uncommon for him to get like 20 rebounds, 22 rebounds. Is incredible. Um, and the one of the other neat stories was that the Warriors tried to get Kevin Durant before they got Jimmy Butler, and they're like, "Hey, bring him back!" Like, how cool would that have been? But apparently, Durant was not real keen on going back there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Anthony said originally a lot of people were defending Jimmy on the way he was acting, but as this whole situation went on with Miami and Jimmy, people start to realize why Pat wasn't giving him the money. Um, yeah, so um, that's Pat Riley, I think. Yeah, Pat Riley. So, but
Yeah,
Tyler, you need to jump off, man. We're playing at 4:15, I think, today, Penn State. So check that out, guys. Make sure you watch them today. But Tyler, thanks for coming on again, man. It's always good to have you on.
yeah,
I like
yeah,
doing this, and I look forward to talking some March Madness with you because um, that's a big time of year. March Madness. It's
yeah.
fun.
It's so much fun. One time when I was playing down in Argentina, I had some extra time on my hands, and we found this massive roll of paper. And oh, what's Anthony saying? What was he saying?
He said he was being unprofessional walking out of practices and purposely coming late to flights or not showing up to team flights at all. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
kind of been his story, though, man. He's bounced around a lot.
Yeah, Anthony, that's a good call, man. It's like every superstar you're going to hear stuff about, and then there's going to be ego there. And it's like, how much are you willing to put up with? And all those coaches, they're going to put up with some level of it because the players are making more money than them, and it's a lot easier to replace a coach than it is a player, that like
Yeah.
of those guys' caliber. So, you hear, oh, it's a player-driven league, and it is, especially with all these guaranteed deals. So, yeah, not surprised that he made a move. It seems like that happens with some of the guys that seem to have, um, some attitude issues or whatever, and that's why they bounce around a little bit more than maybe other guys do. But yeah, I can't wait to see how this plays out. And I mean, Rodman, he was an issue in San Antonio for a while, and they're like, we can't put up with this shenanigans anymore. Like, Bulls, you guys are happy to have him, and I can't remember if they got him in a trade or just free agency. I can't remember. Do you know?
So Rodman, he was with San Antonio. He's with the Pistons, the bad boy Pistons.
Yeah, Pistons.
I don't think. I think they traded for him. I know they
Yeah,
drafted Scottie Pippen, but
yeah,
I think they traded for him because he was still on the Pistons, man. I think,
yeah,
and obviously they were something else.
yeah,
I'll tell you.
yeah. But like under the right leadership, I mean, you could get guys like, hey, I mean, Coach K tells this great story about the Olympic Redeem team when they had Kobe, Durant, LeBron, and he said that the first meeting they had with the team, he's like, a lot of people will say, "Hey, leave your egos at the door. You're playing for USA." He's like, "Actually, I disagree with that. I want your ego, but I want it under this USA umbrella ego, right?" So I thought it was kind of a neat way of just being like, listen, don't stop being who you are. I love who you guys are. All your egos are what makes a lot of you guys so great. That's a part of you, but let's keep it within the USA umbrella. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
guys bought into that, which was cool. So who knows, man? Maybe, and sometimes guys just need a fresh start. They just need fresh scenery and fresh people to be around. And I'm sure it'll be good for a while, but I don't know if I see him like riding out his career with the Warriors. But they gave him a nice little, 2-year contract, I think, for like almost 70 million a year or something crazy.
Well, I remember Tony Kucha, if I'm saying his name right. They played. He played them in the Olympics, and at that time, the GM of the Bulls was like, "Yeah, he's gonna be the next guy." And then they just beat the crap out of him. And they were like, "Yeah, you think you're gonna get him? We just beat him, you know." But Michael's ego, competitiveness kicked in, and they freaking just shut him down totally.
that
Poor
was
guy.
that was funny.
But
Uh,
all right, Tyler.
yeah,
Anthony,
man.
thanks for the comments, man.
Anthony,
Just
thank you.
comment. Yeah, just comment on when we get off, and I'll answer it. And but Tyler, it's good to have you on, man. Are you
Yeah,
watching the game?
yeah, I'll be watching it for sure. I want to go get a quick run in, and then I'll probably delay it a couple minutes and then fast forward some commercials.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, man. I
Um,
till next time. You guys take care, and go
yeah,
Penn State.
thanks, man. Appreciate it. See you.
Yep.